Happy to be here, everyone. Happy to be on campus virtually, even though after about 20 years. So I passed out in 2003. I have been working for the last nearly 20 years, 12 of which have been in the corporate world, and the rest have been as an entrepreneur. KinderPass is my current venture, and I started this with my co-founder, who's also an alumna of IIM Indore. So she was my roommate and batchmate, obviously, in 2001, 2003. So that's two of us who started KinderPass. And it's been about nearly 4.5 years now since we started KinderPass, and I'm really happy to be here speaking to you. If I could share screen, that'll be great. Thank you. All right, so I did not want to stick to the same route of all of us sharing our experiences as entrepreneurs and boring everyone. Because our context, our story is very individual. What I would like to do, though, is maybe take you through a few guiding principles, if you will, of what entrepreneurship is like, and what we as entrepreneurs always try to cover. Just a moment, please. All right. So that's literally what a day in the life of an entrepreneur looks like. You're getting sucked into quicksand and then getting thrown out as well. But before that, there's a lot of debate around, is entrepreneurship hard? Is it easy? Is it fun? So I thought let's just get a fun look and about what is hard and what is not. If you've seen this video, then please bear with me. If you've not, I'm hoping it'll be fun. Yeah, so that was our hard work. I had to pause the ad because I didn't want to go promoting Apple's MacBooks. But an entrepreneur is literally all of those things and more. And we can have the debate that goes on about whether it's hard or easy, but then to each his or her own. Today, I'm here to tell you about a few principles that really work in entrepreneurship. One of the first things is about locus of control. So when I started KinderPass, our objective really was to help parents, who was our target audience, to be able to make the most of the early years of their child, right? That was what we started out to do. So our locus of control was, and who was guiding our steering wheel was really the customer. But across years, you realize as an entrepreneur, and even in every individual's entrepreneurial journey, it's important to see who has the locus of control, right? And where does it lie? Who's steering your wheel? Whether it could be investors, if you're very clear about you're building for an exit and to get your first investors on 10x or a 75x exit, as has been in the recent case, that's where that's where your locus of control could lie. But similarly, it could be about users, it could be about other stakeholders in the business, or at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur, and that's really how it always begins, is with you. That's the locus of control live within you. Are you being guided by what problem you're trying to solve? In our case, it started with us, it went to the customers, and it still sits with customers today. And therefore, the multiple pivots we have been through as KinderPass. It's also about embracing the uncharted and embracing it every day. Every morning you wake up, there's a new challenge that you are facing, a new task, a new activity that you're expected to do that you've probably never done in your whole life. So you're really literally taking the leap into the unknown. It started with me when in our first avatar of KinderPass, we decided monetization through content or through a subscription based app in India and Asia was not going to work, right? So that's when we said, let's make this happen through toys, through products for children, through developmentally appropriate products. So I had to take the plunge into understanding even how parents spend time with their children. What are children doing? So we went visiting homes. We went to over 50 odd users' homes in different cities, each of us, just trying to see what is a baby doing and what is a parent doing with the child in their time at home. What is a baby putting in his or her mouth? Are parents buying imported toys? Are parents looking at quality? What are competitors doing? So I've seen competitors' factories where they're putting Asian paints on babies' toys. I mean, what you'd put on a wall is probably going into a baby's tummy. So I had to understand, and between my team and I, back then we were just 5 people, but all of us had to take the leap into the unknown and come out winning every day, right? And therefore, entrepreneurship is about saying, what is for my user or whoever it is that I'm focused on? What is the best way to get there? And therefore, every day you're trying new paths, you're trying uncharted territories, and it's about learning along the way. There's a lot of learning in this process, but it's about embracing the unknown. it's also about the risks that you take and the risks that you don't take, right? Because especially when you're bootstrapped, you have a lot of room to play in terms of being autonomous, in terms of the control you have. But once you've raised money, whether it is angel money, whether it is a VC fund or anybody else, it's really about the risks that you can take and the risks that you can't take, and the risks that you actually eventually end up taking. So when we started KinderPass, we were bootstrapped. About a year ago, we raised VC as well as VC funds from across the world and angel investors from India. We raised money from them, and we've been lucky enough to have a set of VCs who've given us a lot of freedom, and are also backing us on risks that we are taking, calculated risks. But as a founder, right from day one, it is about saying, hey, you know what? In the pandemic, I think a digital first business is likely to work, and I will focus on that. So therefore, we pivoted from the toys and the app when we realized parents were asking us to actually render the services we were expecting them to do, is to go virtual, to say that we will do an e-learning platform, we will do a at-home learning platform, and that's the pivot we took. That's a risk we took. Now, the downside of that risk taken, literally every edtech player in the industry is seeing the post-pandemic behavior where users are going back to in-person brick and mortar businesses, brick and mortar models of learning and entertainment as well. So it's important to be able to take those risks in a very calculated manner. It is also about the risks that you did not take. And sometimes the payoff and the payback is probably much better in the risk that you did not take. But as an entrepreneur, it is this that you juggle on an everyday basis. So when you start out, who am I building? What am I building for? What are the risks that I need to be able to take? Now, the risks that you take also help you tap into a category or a market that probably somebody else has not seen. It is also the payoff, therefore, there is very, very different. At the end of the day, the guiding force is your user, is what they're saying to you. It is also about what they're not saying to you. So my advice would be for those who might be even considering an entrepreneurial journey is to say that, am I willing to be able to take the risks? Am I willing to be able to put my time and money where my conviction is? And whether this conviction is right or not gets proven in time, but how much can I back this with data? Right. So that's really one of the many things that an entrepreneur is built to take. It is also about being able to adapt, right? What you're looking at is the Takeshi Castle obstacle course, right? Because the obstacles in an entrepreneur's life are constantly moving. They're not static obstacles. It's not necessarily a maze. It's a maze that rotates every 5 minutes. So you're in a different territory every single day. And it is being able to adapt. So the pandemic example, right? So when businesses saw not being able to build products, design products, ship products, a lot of them pivoted to an e-com model. But how quickly are they able to pivot back to a brick and mortar business is what has helped a lot of players stay in the game. And that's really important. For example, let's take healthcare, right? Today, a lot of virtual consultations, practices that were built on virtual consultations are switching back to in-person consults because at the end of the day in India, healthcare is a very high-touch business. So users want to be able to go visit a doctor in clinic and not do a virtual consult alone. And therefore, all the folks who are able to get back into their brick and mortar models are being able to survive. It's about being able to adapt to change, to be able to adapt to user needs, and to ensure you have your eye on the last obstacle that you can see so far. And what is the path that you're charting through this maze? This is a very big one because you will see a lot of failures. You wake up one day. So I keep joking with other co-founder friends and founder friends that it's like being on a roller coaster every single morning to night, right? So you wake up on a super high because you read a user write a great review last night. But then, suddenly someone writes a really crappy feedback. You get an escalation from a user who says, you're a cheater, you've taken my money, I haven't got a confirmation, so on and so forth. On Play Store, you see a miserable review. You see something breaking in your product. You see a tech escalation. All of these will take you through the ups and downs. And if you're in the fundraising process, God help you, because every other investors know is like a blow to your confidence, is a blow to your faith in yourself and your business. But what you can take away from that is to learn from failures. For example, at the start of our fundraising journey, we would go to literally everybody who was in the VC space, right? We realized that we were just knocking at all the wrong doors. So it's important in fundraising to be able to say which of these in the ecosystem, what kind of fundraising is important for me and is suitable for my business, which of the folks, if I'm looking at VC firms, which of the folks that are available have a shared thesis, who is looking at building in pediatrics, who's looking at building in healthcare, who's looking at building in education. And that's really how we learned from our failures. We also learned from the fact that when we started, we did not keep a user's pain point that they would be willing to pay for in mind, right? When we started the app, so those of you who don't have context yet, KinderPass started with being able to provide content to parents to do on an everyday basis with their children, right? We were very excited. Users gave us brilliant feedback. We did our MVP, we did our testing, all of that. But what we did not realize is this is not a pain point that they're willing to pay a premium to solve for, or even a steady subscription model. That's what we learned over say about a year of working in this space, and therefore we pivoted to a very different monetization model. And that's the importance of knowing when you're failing. And to know when you're failing, you need to also know what success could look like, what the opposite of failure is. So if I set out to launch a product, what does success in 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months look like? And if I'm not hitting those milestones that I have defined as success, you take a step back, you take a check, and then you learn from the failure and reinvent and get back on the track. This is important for those of you who are already entrepreneurs or who are starting out to be entrepreneurs, right? Is you need to be very clear about what your door is. When I say what your door is what are you building this for? We talked about the who you're building this for, but are you building this to be $1 million business or $1 billion business? Or are you building this to exit in 3 years? Is that your door? What is your door for your business? For those of you who've heard of Yoga Bar, right? It got acquired by ITC, and Suhasini Sampath, the founder of Yoga Bar, puts it very clearly, saying, I grew the business to whatever extent I possibly could, but then I realized that the scale and distribution it needs now is not something I have the muscle, the capability, or the deep pockets to build. ITC has it. Therefore, the natural extension was to be able to sell a majority stake or a large stake to ITC, right? So be clear about your door and what is the path that will take you to the door. Today, I hear every week I meet budding founders, I meet students like all of you who come to me and saying, ma'am, I have an idea, I want to start up. Right? Is that enough reason? Because what is your idea? Is there a user? Is there a pain point? Is there somebody who's willing to pay you for solving that pain point? And at the end of the day, what are you building this for? Just yesterday, I was teaching a bunch of students, here, and I was teaching them design thinking. So one set walked up to me with their fledgling idea of saying, we are building a try before you buy tech product for makeup. Now, there are these features exist on Amazon, on other platforms as well, but it is not customized to your skin tone. Now, my point was, you are going to build an e-com platform and build this and deploy this where what are the problems you're trying to solve? You're trying to solve it's a marketplace model. So you're trying to solve for supply, you're trying to solve for demand. So you're doing all of the unnecessary ancillary things because you have a try to buy product, try before you buy product. Isn't it easier to build it as an API to be able to plug it in into a Nykaa, Purple, or Tira? Tira already has it, but a few others. So the objective really is to say that if I'm making this, who's the user for whom this is going to be the biggest value add without me having to do 20 things. I stick to my core competence. All of you would have learned about it. I stick to my core competence, which is to build this tech layer. So who is the user for whom this tech layer solves the biggest problem? It is actually the platform. So you build a B2B business versus a D2C business. Similarly, chart your path basis the door you have in mind. This is very contrary to all of the stuff that we've been told growing up, right? That quitting is for losers. But, there's a very interesting book about quitting, and I would love to share it in the recommendations if the team lets me do it later. But it is about knowing when to quit, right? Suhasini Sampath's example again, and many others who've got exits for their business, because after a point, you realize there's only so much you're able to grow this business. Sticking on to it, holding on to it is draining your resources, your energy, your morale, and you're taking your team down with you if you have one. So knowing when to say goodbye to that brilliant idea you've had is very, very important. And that comes from defining what success looks like and what the lack of success, which is failure, looks like. it is okay to admit that I was probably wrong getting on this path. And I know many founders who struggle with letting go, including myself. I have to tell you this. I mean, there are many times during our journey where I nearly let go. And as an entrepreneur, I can admit this today, where I nearly let go, but then I held on to it. And in hindsight, it made me think that maybe that was a good time to probably exit. Maybe I would have grown this business better if I'd let someone else who was doing different things with this business, who was taking this to a brick and mortar model, would have done better with it. So quitting really is not for losers, but for winners. Knowing when to quit on one and backing it with enough data to say this is the point in time where quitting is right for me is very, very important. So these are some of the principles that I mean, entrepreneurship is a sea and I could go on forever, but it is really a few takeaways that not everyone talks about that I wanted to bring to you today. So if you're ready for the hard work, if you're ready to juggle a million things in a day and be excited about being your own boss, about the decision making that you can influence and take, I probably it's not possible to do that in any other role, but it comes with its own ability to juggle a million balls and a million things at once. So good luck to anyone who's in this journey, and I'm happy to take any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Shireen. We will request you to stay till the end because we have to take question and answer for after when all the panelists are done.
Sure, I'm here. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for that unconventional but very interesting lesson that quitting is for winners. So on that note, we would like to request our next panelist to share his journey. That would be Bhavin Parmar from the batch of 2010 and 12.
Good evening to everyone. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah. So welcome you all for this entrepreneur meet session. First, I would like to congratulate Shireen for the wonderful talk she gave about the entrepreneur. I think she literally summed up everything, I would say. I mean, as an entrepreneur, what you really think and what approach you should take, what are the stages. I think she has covered that wonderfully well, I would say, to the point. Obviously, you might see some repetition here only because that's how the entrepreneur journey will always be. Okay. In addition to what she has spoken, I will add one point only to that. Otherwise, everything is covered. That is your passion. I think that what I see as one of the main driving factor for any entrepreneur, precisely for any domain or any where they are working. So that is the passion. If you have that passion, then definitely entrepreneurship is very much rewarding. It may not be only the monetary benefits I would talk about, because once you get into that journey, you will definitely come out of that monetary thought. It's just an add-on. I mean, if you get it, that is great. But most important part here, I would say, is the passion. So if you have that passion in you, I'm sure most of you might have a work ex before joining, or maybe others are fresher. Okay. So let me share my journey so that you get an idea what I'm into right now. So I did my MBA in 2012 batch. That's there. Before that, I worked in TCS. So being from IT, obviously I had an option to go back to IT and again do the job what I was doing there. But then I decided not to go. I opted to be into an agri field. That was a passion I had. I had that inclination in me to get into that. So that's a call I took. Okay. Obviously, there was no background. There was no knowledge, to be precise, to get into that. But then I thought, okay, after campus, I got an opportunity to work with one of the organic food manufacturers company. I mean, who are the pioneer in India. So, and I found that very interesting subject, because ultimately what we eat is what we are, I would say. I mean, that's how our thought process, everything is related to food, I would say. So that's how I thought, let's try and get into this. There's something interesting to look into future as well. And that's how I started. I worked there for around 4 years. And then in 2016, I started the entrepreneurship journey. Okay. So by that time, you already had that much experience, that much exposure to the market, to the processes. Then it's easy for, as a transition, it's very easy. Okay, so when that is also one of the topic I would say about, okay, that if you want to be an entrepreneur, you definitely can have that experience before to get into it. If you have a brilliant idea, because right now it's all about digital, it's all about AI, is what I'm sure you must be hearing. That was not a case, I would say, those days. Okay, that was very new terms for us. So we still believe in a brick and mortar model. I mean, I'm sure you see that a generation gap for sure. I'm not sure that today's generation will have that belief in that to be in the brick and mortar model, but we still believe in it. Okay, because ultimately it's about user experience. Okay, when users are you're talking to them, they are trying your products physically, you are doing a lot of sampling sessions, you're interacting with them, and then definitely it gives you a lot of insights, which is very much useful to build your product. So that's how even I focus into it. I still believe in that model. And what we did, we launch our products in organic food into international market only to begin with. Okay, so from the beginning, that's the exposure I had. Okay, we launch our organic food brands in USA. Right now, I would say we are the one of the fastest growing organic food brand in US. Okay, so we cover the entire range of groceries, we cover snacks, and we are building the product range. So we are trying to become the like house of multiple product and multiple brand to be house of brand, I would say. So that's how we are right now. Uh, India, if I have to talk about now, India being a market, I would say one of the most challenging markets. I think Shireen gave an example of yoga bar. That's a precise, I would say that's one of the range we also worked upon actually. So we have that in our category. So, and there are such more your brands other like that also. Okay, so that's she very well explained that. Okay, when it was a time for them to look to a bigger company where they can actually take up that brand to a next level. For doing that to the self is very challenging, especially in Indian market, because of the diversity, because of the area we are in. I mean, we have in India. So it's not easy to sustain into a distribution model. Okay, when we talk about the PNGs and those companies, okay, they have that like years of ground experience, and then they are today in that level. Okay, so to build that network again to that, it is very a difficult job. But yes, it's not that people did not succeed. Even people did. Mama Earth is a good example. If we talk a recent journey, I would give that example of Mama Earth. They have built a very robust distribution model, and that to very short span of time. So there is always an opportunity to be it in FMCG, be in or in the even food precisely. That's the case. And the major advantage what we have, I would say, being in food business, you always have opportunity to create products. Okay, because that may be the limitation when we talk about the other segment with the service industry or talk about. And here we have an option. We can always build those product. We can always add those product line. Food is always going to be there in market. I mean, you always have an opportunity. You're always able to find your clientele, and you can always create that market. I mean, you have India, you have international market, and so that's how the food business work. And I mean, we are, I would say, it's a challenging journey. It's still going on. I will not say. We also recently took some investment from the sort of angel investors only. Okay, so that's how we are stepping into you. And again, the idea is you should know what exactly you are looking for. Okay, whether you want to run it in a traditional method, or you want to do that in a very short. Okay, you want to expand, you want to create the reach, and you want to go in the market, and okay, then look for a better opportunity to sell your company or to invite people to join you and work there. Okay. I'll give a small example here, I'm sure, because now it might be a case, okay, that does the background matters. I mean, if you want to be an entrepreneur, does your really a background or maybe your stream, because many of you might be interested in finance, many of might be interested in marketing or any other branch. Okay, that's possible. So you might have that, and I mean, a question that whether if I'm inclined to finance, whether can I do the any product sale, for example, or any product and should I be into product business, for example, because then or should I be into service business? So that sort of question always be there. Okay, I'll give a small example from our batch only. In 2012 batch only, I have a very good friend of mine. His name is Satyendra. So he was a finance wizard, I would say. He got into Goldman from the campus only, and he worked there. And almost, I think, around 4-5 years he worked there. and today he's selling plants. Okay, so that's an example. I mean, I'm just giving you the complete a different side of that the what from the campus, because that should be your dream. I think, I'm sure many of you, if you are into finance, there the Goldman might be your dream to be into. Okay, or BCG might be. I mean, that sort of, that should be the dream, right? I'm sure. But today there are people who have left those companies and they are on the route, on the ground, and they are literally day to day they are talking to the gardeners. They are putting all the efforts to convince them to be there on platform, or do work for them. So you see this shift, and I think that's something you really need to look upon. I mean, if you see, you are in the most premier institute of India, for sure. You should be proud of it, no doubt about it. But that proud, and when you are an as an entrepreneur, you have to keep that tag aside. You cannot go with that tag. Okay, that should be there. I mean, because if you go with that tag, you have certain benchmark to do anything. Okay, but in entrepreneur, I mean, you have to do practically everything, and there is no precise definition to it. Okay, that you only have to do this job, or you only have to do, no. You may not have that leverage, or you may not have that privilege to build a team from day one. Ultimately, you have to pay them. Okay, so there are so many things which you only need to do, and you need to learn first of all if you don't know, and then you have to build. And if you are building a team, your first thought process always gonna be today that, okay, yes, I need to make sure that they get their salaries or remuneration first, and you will be the last. So you, as soon as you enter into that entrepreneurship journey, you will always think about that first, and then you'll think about yourself. So this shift will be there. As an entrepreneur, I'm sure success rate, I don't know exactly the percentage of success rate I would talk about. Okay, that because we have a much larger group of entrepreneurs from our IIM alumni only, and we talk to each other, we see their journey, and even maybe 4 years, 5 years, even 10 years also I have seen. I mean, it's been almost 12 years journey we have seen. But it's not necessary that, okay, there is a success available at maybe at 5 years or 10 years or maybe 15 years. That milestone, ultimately, you have to keep creating and keep achieving. And if you're not able to achieve, you have to thought about pivoting your model. Shireen very well explained that, okay, as well, that how you can do that, and why you should do that. So it's no, it's always better to think ahead. It's always good to take a step back. This is something we are never taught. I think that's something as an entrepreneur only you will learn, because we never uh because you all in school or in college, and I mean, I'm sure you all must be at always of achieving something. Okay, you never had I think taken a step back for sure till date. But as an entrepreneur, that is the first thing you should learn, to take a step back, because a lot of stake involved to it. And because till date it's all about you, what you could achieve or what you could do. You could study well, you could do good, I mean, great in exams, you could score well, and you can get a good job, you got an excellent interview. Okay, you can get into a good placement, everything is there. But when you are as an entrepreneur, you're working as an entrepreneur, you should know when to take a step back. It is very important. So I think this two main point, I would say, the passion you have to carry, and you should know what it's really driving. I mean, driving you, what you have, what you really want to do. Okay, my passion was agriculture, and I'm into it. It's been 11 years, and I'm enjoying it. Okay, I'm building that gradually. I'm building in a lot of farming projects. I'm building FPOs, farmer producer companies. I'm working with farmers. I'm building a manufacturing facilities. Okay, I'm working a lot of products. Okay, product line we are developing. We're learning a lot of things. Food technology is what we are learning right now, for example. So that was my passion, and I'm into it. And yes, I could say that, okay, I've achieved a decent uh, success, I would say, in terms of what we really wanted to do, or what really I wanted to do. Okay, I'm able to work with so many farmers. I'm able to make some change in their life. That's what I would like to say. uh, Even one of my batchmate is also in the same. I think he's also one of the faculty. I mean, visiting faculty at the campus also. Gunajit is his name. I'm not sure if you have attended his classes. So this journey is there. You have people of you will find those people actually. So it's always great to connect with them, and rather, and be into any business. I mean, I would say, when you build a business, The competition is the last thing you talk about. You always talk about the collaboration first, because being an entrepreneur is, you always need that collaboration. You always need such people. You cannot do everything alone. You need to have good co-founders. You need to have good team. You need to have good people to work with you. So you need to work for that, and that collaborative attitude, that nature has to be there. If it is not there, you have to have it. You have to be adaptive. You have to be collaborative, and to build that business. And yes, you need that. I would say that passion, of course. If that is there, then everything will fall in place for sure. I think that is about my journey here. I think we can take the question answer to the next.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your journey. We'll have a question answer at the end. So right now we will call upon our next panelist over here, Mr. Chanakya Joshi. Sir, we will request you.
Good afternoon, guys. This is AIM, Alumni Entrepreneurship Meet, right? So this AIM is without I. So I is always there, right? Indore. I am Indore. So I want to tell you 5 lessons which I learned during my entrepreneurial journey. So this is the graph before I started. The headline is not seen, but this is before I started. If you look at it, it is nice. It is going up. Everything is good. So I started. I was a kid earlier. Then I was into music, cricket, nature. Academically, I was good. The graph is going up. I was before my entry to IIM also. And then I kind of got a good role after my IIM also. Changed my industry from automotive to IT. So it was a complete different experience for me. I hated automobiles, but still I spent 8 years in that. And after IIM, I could change I joined IT services company just to understand how software company works. And then after I put a clock on my last job, which was at Geometric, now currently acquired by HCL. I put a 5-year period, gave 5 years to me. After 5 years, I was going to leave to start up. So on 1st August, I joined that company, and I resigned on exactly after 5 years. I think I took 1 week extra. On 10th August, after 5 years, I resigned. My boss did not leave me. I had to stay there for 3 months more. So in 30th of November, I completed, that was the last day. It's around 14 years, like one was, right? 14 years of job. And then after 14 years, I was into entrepreneurship. And I was there, I was very happy. And this is what happened. So the earlier graph was going up, up, up. And this is complete messed up situation. So I was doing a lot of things. See, there is one philosophy that I have developed. Success is external and satisfaction is internal. So this is what was success. This is for external people. I was going up and on. So this is all external. But satisfaction I got from this struggle. Okay? Because I was doing something which I wanted. I was doing something which I dreamed of right from the age of 21. I did not start dreaming at the age of 2 that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. It was like 21 when I read the book by Bill Gates, The Road Ahead. I wanted to do something in entrepreneurship. So this is what I was doing. So even though success is external, I was satisfied here. So I did a lot of things. Basically, I mainly started with Get a Connect. That is my main startup, so to say. That's what I started, left my job for. But because of the demands of the startup, the overall market, the positioning, the kind of cash flow, I also started another company called Art Academy. That is by the name on the name of my wife. So because so I'll tell you what Get a Connect is. It's like a B2B SaaS e-learning platform. So we started as e-learning B2C, like next Udemy. And then we decided to switch to B2B and tell you why I did that. But because it was a technology play, I joined one startup accelerator called Startup Leadership. So there are a lot of accelerators actually. So if you want to start up, I will recommend you to at least connect with some of them. Luckily, even colleges have also now got entrepreneurship cell. IIM has must be doing something better in that. In that sense, but you should be connected with people who are thinking like you. You should not be connected with people who are going for a job, because then you'll be pulled back, right? So that external success will be coming in your head, and it might dilute what you might want to do, right? So I got some advice from my startup leadership friend that you are doing a technology play, you should also have a content play and all that. So listening to that, I started Get a Connect and Argur Academy. I mean Argur Academy. So it was a content play. So one was technology play, one was content play, and I was seeing whatever is successful, I will see, right? Argur Academy got picked up. I got some clients who were paying money to us, and using that money, we developed Get a Connect technology. So it really worked wonderfully well for me. At the same time, I was also doing stock market trading also, just to sort of see what is happening there. I learned a lot in that, and I decided to do something. Basically, my idea of not having investor is from that only. So if I make money from markets and put it into my startup, that's an ideal situation for me. So from that angle, I was already having passion about it, and I'm still into it. But now not that active, but I think I will get active once this product gets settled for me. This is another thing which I started as a newsletter, this CLO journal. I will tell you why I started that and why it was late for me to start. I also did some consulting work. Still, I do some consulting work with one company. So basically, the thing is that the journey is not straight. It is not an exponential curve. In fact, there is no curve here. There is start point. There is end point. We don't know where it is. It is ending up or down, right? That's the entrepreneurship journey for you. So this is where Get a Connect is now. So my full main dream is now into these two lines. So what I am going to do is I am helping companies not to just look good, but be good by using quiz for their marketing. So we are a platform where any company can create a quiz for attracting their customers and using our brand for their content marketing. We have got a full-fledged LMS where they can create courses and all that. But initially, I'm not selling courses to them. I'm only telling them to make a quiz and attract your customers, and then according to the response, you can progress. So that's the idea. So this is the full-fledged flow. So what we think we can do is we can build learning funnels for companies to scale up their business. So scaling up is with customers, partners, employees. We have the technology where you can create learning funnels to capture, nurture, onboard, and train all of them. So that's what the whole product is. But as of now, when I go to market, I only tell them I do this, right? Because if I tell them this, they will get confused. Nobody gets anything. They think this is too much commitment for me. So instead of that, I will tell only this to them. So this also is this clarity I got from this struggle, where I kind of got confused what to do, what not to do. So now let's go to the lessons, the real thing. And I'm sure your South Africa match you have abandoned for this. So your time will not be wasted. So entrepreneurship is like test cricket, right? Test cricket is like it's all about staying on the pitch. You should not get out, right? Because in the first 20, 30 years, the ball is swinging. And once the 30 years are gone, the ball will not swing that much. It will get old. And that is the time when you score runs, right? But you should reach to that 30 over mark. If you get out before, then that's it. So startup is exactly like that. You should be there on the pitch in the game till the end. So from that perspective, you have to manage everything, your finances, your energies, everything. You have to plan so that you stay in the game. So that's the most important thing which I see. It might be that you start hitting fours and sixes for first 4 or 5 balls, you're hitting 6, but you get out on the fifth ball, something goes wrong, and then that's it. So that's the end. So don't just look at it as a 2020, it's a test cricket. And the main point here to stay there is your ikigai. So ikigai is the why that you started up. Most of the panelists, 2 of the panelists already talked about it, but you should know why are you starting up. It may not be clear, it will not be clear rather, but you should have something in it, some mission statement, some value system, some ethics that you are doing this for XYZ activity, right? So in my case, the main dream I have carried is give back. So society gives us so much, so it's my time to give back to society one day, right? I don't know when that one day is, but that is where I'm going, and that's why I can stay on the pitch of startup alive, right? So this ikigai is very, very important. Your conscience will tell you what is that ikigai is. It may not be clear, but maybe as you grow ahead, you stay on the pitch, you'll understand what is it, and then you'll automatically come to. And also, it is important to stay crazy for a reason. So you will stay crazy for that ikigai. Otherwise, it is very difficult because everybody else will tell you the external success. You're not doing this, you're not getting that, your friends are doing that, they have achieved this. All these things, if they come, they will dilute your focus. So lesson 2 is stay lean. Most of the people now know this concept, MVP, minimum viable product and all. So only build what is needed. Don't build a full suit if you need only that much, right? So I actually made this mistake. I created a full suit first, and then I thought that, oh, I will only sell this, and then I will go to suit, because people will not buy a complete suit from a newcomer, right? So build as we go along. No need to build all complete product right from day one. This is part of that second lesson only, which is avoid external funding. So I'm pretty passionate about it. It may not be true in your business. So most of the times, what I have seen is if your startup is B2C, you will need funding. If it is B2B, you can manage without funding. Because B2B clients will pay you a decent amount. You may get 2, 4, 5 clients. Still, your expenses will be covered, right? For B2C, getting that thousands of clients itself will be a headache because you have to market a lot. The marketing budgets for your B2C business is too high. So from that perspective, you will need funding, right? So I was pretty, somehow I was resistant to this funding business because there is a lot of hoopla in all startup world about the valuations. It's like crazy. I think it is better not to be part of that. And I will also request you to build your business with least funding possible from outside. You may raise from your family, friends, it's okay. But if you're going for external funding with equity commitment, it is like taking a loan. It is even worse, actually. So value that. External funding is exactly like that burger. It is really good, tasty. You will be able to tell others that I have raised $20 million at 1 billion valuation, whatever it is. That valuation doesn't come at all, doesn't come in the pocket, right? So it's all in the dream. You think that it is good, but in actually it is bootstrap, which will give you freedom, and maybe it will not also dilute your vision, because investors might tell you to go take some path which you may not like, right? So from that, I will say avoid funding. Lesson number 3 is basically product. So don't wait for the perfect product. Product is only 30%, distribution is 70%. So this lesson I learned pretty hard way. Initially, being an engineer, I was only focused on product. Day out, it was only product features. I built a full suite for the Ironman, and then I realized that nobody is ready to buy the suite, right? So reduce the features. Then I started counted my features. I got 30, 40 features, for example. I reduced to 5 to 7. I will not show other features in the product. Literally, I had to do that exercise. So if I had done it like this, where product, I should not focus more on the product. I focused on, say, important features and start with distribution right from day one. So distribution is your sales, marketing, your branding, whatever way you want your product to go out to people. So recently, 1 year back, I started my newsletter called Serial Journal, and it proved to be a good distribution channel for me. So it's like it's like content marketing, where every week you are getting some subscribers, every week you are releasing some content and all that. And it also built clarity about what I am doing, right? It also helped me for SEO and other aspects. But the whole point is I should have started this from on day one, right? The problem is you don't know what is it that you're going to do, right? So there is a struggle. There is no there is no clear time that you should start marketing about your product from say this day. But the main guideline is start as early as possible. Whenever you get some clarity about your product, you start distributing it. Start making people test it, start talking about it, start getting feedback. It is extremely important. It is more important than anything else, actually. This is the fourth lesson, which is speed kills. So most of the startup guys are like speed. I want to achieve this in 1 year, three year, whatever, 6 months and all that. Next year will be 10x, then 100x and all that. Right? But my philosophy is completely different here. I'm kind of against the trend. What I believe is if you drive really fast, then two things happen. One is that you may get into trouble by accident. You might hit a tree, you might go on a divider. That thing might happen with your startup. If you go really fast, something might go wrong operationally. Something you might spend something extra. Then the cash flow situations will take you in trouble. That's one. And second, most even more dangerous is the direction itself is wrong. So imagine if you start a car with a full speed and you go maybe 5 kilometers extra, and then you have to come back and go to the right side, right? So you imagine if this happens in your startup, it is too costly to come back, right? So it is better to go slow because pivoting is the core of any startup. You don't start with your end product in whatever you are selling today. You definitely will not start with that 5 years back because whatever you sell in the end will always change. The same thing happened with almost all startups. They started with something, but they ended with something else, right? So my advice is don't go for over speed. Be aware. I'm not saying go slow, but be aware that speed is not going to be a major concern. In fact, normal speed is good for startup. And this is the last lesson. So when I was into that SLP startup leadership program, we always try to find out what is most critical for startup, right? So I have just jotted down some of the points. One is the startup idea. One is another is team. Whether idea is good or team is good, you must have heard about this before. Then what is the problem that your startup is solving? What is the focus of your startup? Who is the customer segment? Whether it is large, small, medium, whatever. What is the virality element in your startup? Can it become immediately viral or what or not? Execution is also a very important aspect. And the feedback mechanism in your startup. Feedback is very important because unless you get feedback from people, you will not come to know where your vehicle should go. It might go straight or take right or take left, you don't know. So feedback is very critical. So out of all these, what I have come to the conclusion that focus is extremely important. So you don't want to be a small fish in a big pond. Instead, you become a big fish in a small pond. What I mean by that is you should have extremely narrow focus to start with, right? So I come from Pune, for example. There is one metro station getting constructed. Metro is coming there. So on the corner is a shop called Chai Bucks. Starbucks, they just copied it, Chai Bucks, right? Their focus is only on tea. They sell only tea and they have added flavors to the tea. So normal 12 rupee tea, if they add some different flavor, it becomes 20 palm flavor and all whatever whatnot, 25 rupees, right? And tea is the most is a product which has highest margin, since old days also, right? So 12 rupees and 25 rupees. Their focus is only on tea. So people come there with one focus only that I want to drink tea. And now they have started selling something else. But that focus will solve all your startup problems. So your focus will help you streamline your costing related to sales, your marketing, your operations, your support, your HR management, your overall dashboard or operations management, everything. So focus is going to solve a lot of problems and reduce a lot of costs for you. So don't try to change the world on whatever 7 billion, right? 7 billion people we have on the planet. No need. Even if you solve the problem for say first 100 people, which are in X category, that itself will be good. So you need one customer who loves you a lot rather than 100 customers who like you, right? So focus is extremely critical. If something is not going good in your startup, just bring more focus. Reduce everything else, clutter, and increase the focus on specific area. Even if the focus is wrong, still you come to know you can change the focus later. But focus is very important. And this is the takeaway I want you to get. 99% of the startups fail, but my theory is 100% of entrepreneurs succeed. I have never seen any entrepreneur who has failed because his startup failed. Because they get to learn so many things that they can handle somehow in their life. Right? So biggest risk in life is not taking any risk at all. So that's the point. And it's not about richness in terms of money. So I have 8-year-old kid. I always teach him richness. It's not about money. He used to tell me Elon Musk and all that. So I told him what is richness. So richness is 4 parameters. One is money. Second is time. So how much time you have left in your life, that is your age, plus how much time you have flexibility. So if you are running behind $5 billion and if you're working 22 hours out of 24 hours, that means you have no time left in your life, right? So how much time is left with you? That is another angle. Third angle is health. So how good your health is, mental as well as physical. How good your health is. And fourth is friends and family. So how good your friends and family network is. So these are the 4 parameters which define richness for me. I think this also defines the same thing for you. So it's not only about money in life. And of course, if you're starting up for money, please don't start up. Because that is like, we don't know whether that will happen or not. It might happen. You might not have dreamed about that. Like it will happen like that, basically. But that should not be the goal. So the whole point is, if you are thinking of starting up, if you have come here, leaving aside that India-South Africa match, that means you are serious about this, right? So my suggestion is take the lessons from whatever we all are telling, ask questions at the end, and then all of this.
Thank you so much, girl. Can I request the rest of the participants, please? Thank you. Okay. So we thank you for sharing with us your motto that success is external, but satisfaction is internal. On that note, I will request our next panelist, Sakshi Agarwal, to kindly take the mic.
Hi everyone, thank you for taking out time and being here. I know it's a Sunday and it's quite difficult to take this time out. Anyway, before I start, I wanted to just acknowledge that all the 3 presenters before me have way more experience than I do, and they have given a lot more information and insights about entrepreneurship than I can ever do. So I, sitting there, was actually learning from what they were talking about, but there was a little bit about myself and my entrepreneurship journey as well. So before I start with what my business is, what I learned from it, I quickly wanted to introduce myself. So I was an IPM participant from 2015 to 2020. While I was here, I co-founded a venture called Pvt with 2 of my friends. So a quick story behind it. So my home is in Indore. So when I was studying here, I used to go back home every 2-3 weeks to get my laundry done at home. And when I came back, my mom used to give me a lot of snacks to bring for myself and my friends. So one fine day, about 3 months into the course, I decided why not take a packet of popcorn that my mom had given me to the movie screenings. And we used to have any Hindi movie that was released on Friday being shown to us on Saturday in the new auditorium. So I just took that packet and I was like, hey guys, let's have these snacks. And we passed it around for a couple of minutes and it was all over quite soon. But after the movie ended, all my friends came to me and said that this experience was something different than what they had experienced in the past 3 months watching different movies here at Indore. And that time it clicked to us that how eating popcorn or nachos or samosas was something that was wired into our head while watching any movie. So we got all the permissions and got the vendors and started detailing movie snacks every Saturday when we had these screenings, and it was a hit then. So this was the first time I dipped my toes into entrepreneurship. Once I graduated in 2020, I started working at Goldman Sachs, and I was there for about 3 years. After which I started Palette and Beyond, my latest venture earlier this year. So before I start to talk about what Palette and Beyond is, I again want to talk about a short story that talks about how it came about. So a couple of months ago, I was in Indore, where I live now, and I was speaking to a friend of mine who started a startup a year ago. And he happened to mention that he is doing well and he wants to do something for his employees, but he doesn't have enough money to take all of them to Goa. And I said, sure, that's a fair enough problem. You can do something in Indore itself. And he was quite dumbstruck that what can I do with them in Indore? Like, we need to go somewhere. And at that time, I suggested you can do something on the creative space. And I helped him create a schedule for a day to engage all his employees. After this ended, I had an idea of how well it went, and maybe that can be something that can be expanded. So that's how I started Palette and Beyond. We're not even 6 months old at this point, but as we go through the journey, I'm learning from it and seeing where we should pivot and which pivot would be right from us, as we heard from our earlier presenters. So what my business does is we curate dynamic and creative experiences that help in employee engagement and client engagement. The clients that we work with right now are of 3 broad categories. We first have corporate clients who are either big businesses or startups who need employee engagement. The second type of clients we have are personal clients. And the third type of clients we have are educational institutes. So we're actually working with a college in Indore that want us to develop a one-day schedule for their MDP course, wherein we don't really want professors to do something with them, but have them juggle their creative minds for that. But anyway, that's what we're doing as of now. I was told that the topic for today's talk is what I've been learning from this over the time. So I would want to talk to you about that now. First of all, you would see the heading of this particular slide is Navigating New Territory, and which is exactly what I'm doing right now. So after working in corporate, I had this schema built in my head that if I have a problem, I can go to my manager and say, hey, I'm stuck here, can you help me? And then my manager can give me a roadmap of how I can come out of it. But when I started working on my own business, the first thing I felt was when I'm stuck in a problem, there's nobody that I can actually call up and say, hey, can you give me a roadmap of how to come out of it? It was all for me to figure it out. And I can call 10 different people, but there was no one assigned manager that I could reach out to. And that was one of the biggest challenges that I faced in the first month. And I learned through it. I joined different startup groups to be near people who are into that space so that when I go forward, I have people who have gone through the same journeys so that I can learn from them. Going ahead, as I mentioned, this was not the first time I was doing something by myself, but this was definitely the first time I was doing something independently and in the real world. And when I say the real world, I want to go back to Boboy, the short story that I mentioned a while ago. So while we were here at I Am Indore, I felt that we had this safe environment created for us to experiment, to fail, and to see where we go, to explore different ideas that we had. But at this point, failing becomes difficult. As my previous presenters talked about, we have this fear of failure. Even Himanshu Raisar talked about this in his inauguration speech yesterday. I felt that while I was working on Popeye, I did not have that fear because of the environment that was created at the institute. So in that light, I would also like to encourage you all to try out and explore any ideas that you have given the space, safe space that you are in right now. The third point that I understood very quickly was that all those cliches that I had read on Instagram meme pages that when you are your own boss, you don't work from 9 to 5, but you work 24/7, that actually became true. Earlier, when I was in a corporate setting, and if my manager used to email me on a Saturday, I used to throw a tantrum, and I'm sure you guys have done that as well. But now, if a client of mine calls me up on Sunday morning asking for something, I oblige. So there are so many things that you would see how corporate world and doing your own business or starting up something would be different. As one of the previous presenters called it, that this whole journey is a roller coaster. I totally agree with that. Every day is different. Every time you face a different challenge, you have to come out of it in a different way. So a couple of things that I learned over the time, and a lot of them actually go back to the time when I was here at IIM. So while I was a student, I had this habit of writing post-it notes regarding different tasks that I had to do while juggling 10 different subjects at the same time. And I used to put it just in front of my table. And the moment I completed a particular task, I used to take that post-it out and tear it and then throw it in the dustbin. And I found that whole process really cathartic, that I get to just put this task aside. So for me, short-term, long-term goals, they matter a lot. So for all my short-term goals, I have a table full of post-its, and putting them out and throwing them away once I'm done with that has helped me make sure that I'm on the timeline that I wanted myself to be. The other thing that I faced over the past couple of months was rejection. So at first, when somebody said no to me, I felt maybe it was personal and I was hit down by that a lot. But over time, what I realized was that there will be cases when what your vision and mission for your company is might not be the same as what a particular client's vision is. And at that time, even you would want to say no, or the client would say no to you. And this is a part and parcel of running your own business. So taking it with a pinch of salt, it's not you, it's just that at that point, that particular thing won't work out. Finally, the third thing that I wanted to make sure that I give a lot of importance to was making sure that we have a very strong foundation. And I know we talk about these big words, especially at an education institute, strong foundation and all that. But let me give you an example of what I mean by a strong foundation. So one thing you would have understood is that the business that I am running is quite human-centric. So I wanted to make sure that from the beginning, each interaction that we have with a client or even a participant at our events helps us create a meaningful relationship with them, because all these relationships then drill down and add up. So this is how me and my team make sure that we lay a strong foundation with anyone that we interact with for our business. Finally, talking about what we have learned as we've been growing for the past couple of months, one thing that we make sure is that all our events are creative and unique. So if a particular client wants to add a hint of their company's ethos in our events, we make sure that we find a way to do that. But what this also means is that each and every event that we end up hosting is unique, and each and every interaction that we have, even for two different people in the same event, is unique. What this translates into is the meaningful relationship part that I was talking about earlier. We have to pay even more attention to ensure that we end up giving a positive emotion vibe to the person who's interacting with us. At this point, we're trying to leverage technology into our process, but we're still on the way through it. And if you have any suggestions for that, we would love to hear that. Finally, one thing that I've learned over the couple of months is that though we're deeply cherished, we're still looking for clients and people who would love to partner with us and whose vision match with ours. So if you know companies who would like to partner with us, or businesses, or educational institutes, we would love to discuss that. We're available on email, contact, you can follow us on Instagram. But that's what I've learned over the past couple of months. And I'm sure all of us will have questions at the end. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this informative PPT, even though this is a new startup, but I feel this gave an overview of throughout how the journey goes. So next up, I would like to request all of you to ask whatever questions you have in your mind. So yeah, let's open the floor for that.
Thank you all for present. It was wonderful actually learning from all of your experiences. I do have a particular question for you. Starting from IPM, what was your actually mindset in the IPM, and how did you actually go about actually like managing all your courses and actually figuring out what you want to do in the long term after going into Goldman Sachs and eventually starting a people-centric company? What I believe is we started off very early as something that we wanted some basic necessities such as a web page and maybe shop in the internet from where we can buy stuff. At this point, we are at a saturation level where we have like so many possibilities. If you want to buy maybe let's say a food item, there are like thousands of options in the internet where we can go and actually buy it. And what I see it as going in the future, maybe we are going in a direction where out of all the possibilities at this maxima, we want to, like people want to actually personalize their experience and want to make it more unique, want to make it more customized in a way, so that the emotion part actually comes into play a lot. So how do you actually are going about this in depth? And yeah, like I decided from the item.
Thank you for your question. Let me answer this in two parts. I will first start with the IPM part of it. So if any of you have been an IPM student, you would know that you have to juggle 10 to 15 courses in a particular term. And each course is so unique that you don't have overlaps between them. Like you're doing psychology at 9 a.m., but then you're doing statistics at 2 p.m. So you have to juggle through that. But when I was here, I was quite focused on my academics. To be really honest, at that point, I did not know where I wanted my career to go. I knew that I wanted to do something with numbers, but not particularly what that was. So in terms of how I figured out what I wanted to do, while I wanted to do my summer internship in something that is related to numbers, when the job from Goldman Sachs came up, I thought that is something that would line up with a part of my interest. And it actually happened to be that way. I did my summers there, and while spending 2 months in the office, I realized that this is something that I want to explore. That is the reason I thought maybe at this point, let's do a corporate job. Being an IBM student, I did not have any job experience before that. And I felt that having that behind me would not only be a brand that I do have, but also give me the experience and learnings that might help me later in my life. So that's why I ended up doing that. But while I was working in a corporate job, I realized that I do thrive more when I'm doing something closer to people rather than machines. And that is why when I had an opportunity to do something by myself, I knew that I wanted that element. So that's how this venture came about. Your second question about how to add a personalized experience in everything that has been happening. So I think it actually started or maybe boosted during COVID, because at that time, people couldn't really go to a bank and talk to their relationship manager about what's happening. Everything had to go digital. And I think at that point, a lot of businesses realized how they can add a tone of personalization into what they're doing. Technology helped a lot, of course, but also the way they adapted it, because that was the need of the hour. It changed the world in a very drastic way. And I think we're seeing the repercussions of that even now. So technology, of course, is one thing that can help you in personalization if done right. But again, I'm a strong believer of a human touch, because at the end of the day, whatever technology you do have, if you have somebody to talk to, that gives you a very different approach, a different sense of accomplishment, or a different sense of positive emotion when you take that conversation back. So yeah, please let me know if that is helpful.
Yeah, I'm going to add one first question basically. It is very relevant to any youngster. What should I study? Where should I focus on in my studies? Right. So what I have understood is two things. One is learning for the sake of learning is never useful. If you are studying for some exam, writing some theory, answering that, you'll get bored and you'll not enjoy that. So instead of doing that, connect that with some practical project. If that particular learning has a project, good. If it doesn't have, then you design some project in your personal life or in your overall, you start another startup for that. During IPM, you work on some idea, you take it to fruition. In that, say, first 3-4 years, you take it to fruition. And whatever you're learning, try to implement that into that particular so-called or dummy startup, right? I think that will help you learn much better. See, it is happening with me today. So whatever I learn from YouTube, I learn with a goal in mind. So for example, today there is a problem. We are shifting from one server to another. So there is some technology issue like called transactional emails. So I'm learning how to handle transactional emails in the new server. Right? So when I go on YouTube, I find relevant data. I had to search a lot on that, maybe half an hour, not much. But I got an idea, and then whatever I learned was pointed to what output I wanted. Right? So if you connect that to the real life situations, your theory, then your learning will be substantially better. That is one. And second thing is, if you already know what you are going to do after 5 years of IPM, it is better you focus on those subjects right from day one. So you can't ace all the topics in your class. You cannot be expert in everything. You choose one role or an area. Maybe you choose, if you like sales today, you focus on sales related topics. You have to get A plus in all the sales. Forget about others. It is okay to get a C in that. But for these areas, I want A plus. You decide what is your focus area right from today. If you have got that passion, very good. Just focus on that and do sort of double down on that particular academic stream. Right? That will give you better returns rather than doing everything.
I have two questions. One is from Mr. Chanakya, and one will be open question to all the panel. The first question to you: when you tell that we should not be driving our car very fast, so there is always a competitor who is driving, and there is an opportunity cost involved here. So how to evaluate the opportunity cost which our speed?
Yeah, that's if there is a competitor who is doing something. See, if you look at Microsoft strategy, they are never the pioneers in any field. They are always number two. That particular competitor goes ahead, he checks, cleans the land, cleans the road, and these guys, Microsoft, then goes and runs the car on that. Right? This has always happened with them. So number two, being number two itself is a strategy of Microsoft. So why can't we also have that? That is one way of looking at it. Second way of looking at it, if that competitor fails, if he gets into trouble, that will tell you that that road is not good. Right? That is another way to look at it. If you are extremely clear about the road, there is no risk in it. If the road is very, very clear, then go ahead. Not a big deal. Right? So I always tell my 8-year-old kid how to drive. So you look at 4 conditions. One is road condition, second is vehicle condition, third is traffic condition, and fourth is weather condition. So if all these 4 conditions are good, you just go press the pedal, that's it. But if you have doubt in one of these, then you don't go fast. Right? If my vehicle brake is not working, everything is good, but I can't go fast. Right? So I think you will get a sense of it where you have to press the pedal when you don't have it. Right? Actually, see, in my case, now recently I have started pressing the pedal. Till that time I was cautious. My vehicle might skid, the brakes may not apply. So all these things are now tested. And now I'm fully confident that if I press it now, it will go. So that much confidence we should have. And then if the competitor is going fast, then you double down, no problem. But if you yourself are not clear, then let him go ahead. You be a Microsoft.
Second question is open for everyone. I would love to take answers from everyone if possible. So when we are building a core team in a startup, we all have learned that complementary skills must be there. But one more part, loyalty comes into picture, which is not quantifiable. So how do all of you evaluate the loyalty part in your core team members, which you are going to induct?
Well, I'll go first to it because I have that experience actually of okay, because I did at least 3 ventures. So I continued what I wanted to do. So I had been always the core of that journey. But yes, I had to, in that journey, I had to practically create 3 ventures. Okay. And of course, the reason is the tuning between the partners. Well, straight answer to it, you cannot do that. I mean, you cannot have that any sort of idea to begin with, that okay, whether this will be great venture together or not. Only time can tell you. Okay, because there are multiple factors involved to it actually. Initially when we talk, we really discuss the idea. We like the idea, we like the business, and we tried, and it's a journey. Okay, but that journey is a long journey. Okay, there are certain factors involved to that journey. Okay, maybe that can be personal, that can be professional, that can be emotional, that can be financials, and there are multiple factors involved to it. Okay, so you always have to have that a thought process in, okay, that it may not be a long venture always. Okay, it can, if it works, it's great, but you should always be open to it. Okay, that if tomorrow, if my because ultimately it depends whose idea it is, because there cannot be a two-person idea, it has to be always one. Okay, so if you have a passion and then you look for a person who can also be part of that, he can adapt to that passion, he also have similar thought, but it cannot be same for sure. So now it depends on the person that who actually starting it. In the co-founder is always the first person, there will be a first one person who actually created that. Okay, even he proposed or he had that in mind, and then he asked to other person, or he worked with them and then he asked approach. Even after working, you approach them to a co-founder, that also a different journey. Okay, because there are a lot of decision making involved. When things are going good, everything will look very easy for everyone. Okay, all you will never question any decision, things will go right for everyone. Okay, but when things will start going wrong, then this thing will always come in picture. Okay, this might be you might have done this way, you might have done that way, you should have asked, you should have done. So that sort of things will always be there. So in a partnership company, or in a journey where you need more than one people, yes, it's fortune plays a big role, I would say, rather than only your own efforts. I think that is my point of view. Shireen and this can definitely share their thought process to it.
So Bhavin, taking over from you. So I'll ask you a question. Sorry, I don't know your name. Who was asking the question?
Yeah, Arvind there.
Okay, Arvind. So you know the theory of probability, right? So when you flip a coin, what is the probability of a heads or a tail?
Yeah.
Right. So if you're flipping 10 coins at one go, does the probability stay same? No, it comes down, no? If you're flipping 10 coins at one go, the probability of landing heads at certain times or tails at certain times will come down, because it's 10 events happening at once. Similarly, at the start of your journey, there are two parts, right? At the start of your journey, I can talk to you about from 0 to 1 and 1 to 10. 0 to 1 from a KinderPass standpoint has been when it was just 6 people bootstrapped. 1 to 10 is when we grew to a team of 30 people, raised about 4 crores in venture capital, got a 1.5 million downloads, and so on and so forth. In the first stage, we had 5 people outside of the founders. There were 5 other people working for us at any given point in time, who stuck around with us for almost a year and a half. Okay. Why did they do that? Because when we hired, we punted on people who we knew needed a job which was in the similar space, B, had constraints of not being able to leave home, so were good people but were not being able to get placed in organizations of their choice because they had some constraint or the other to stay at home. Right? So 2 key factors where passion is aligned, there is a need. My need is for people who can work from home yet give their best, who can work 16-hour days, because in the first 2 years of your setting up, that's really the kind of work you put in. And their need was a business that understands the fact that they work from home, but they will give it their best. So at that stage, it worked great. We had people who stuck around. There was loyalty, right? When you're flipping 30 coins, right? When you in our 1 to 10 stage, the definition of loyalty changes, because there people are looking, there's a mix of people. Some come to you because they're looking for a stopgap arrangement. Some come to you because they suddenly lost their job and this was the next opportunity of work from home that they saw online, so on and so forth. So everybody's needs changes. What definitely, there are a few principles that work for loyalty, right? Loyalty as a concept, I think, has changed. I've been working for 20 years over now. So what I see as loyalty has changed significantly, right? For people, I know of folks from my batch who are still with the company they joined out of campus. Can you imagine? I mean, even we couldn't imagine people sticking around for 20 years. Whereas today, it is practically unheard of. Even founders don't stay for 20 years in their own companies, right? So loyalty as a concept is changing, but while it is changing, the governing principles are mutual goals, right? So today, what you're setting out to do versus what your employee wants to do or is setting out to do has to be in sync. So if your employee is looking for money, and if you're not able to offer money, the point of hiring does not exist, right? But how do you check for these? And I'll come to that. If your employee is looking for growth, so you have a developer, a full stack developer who's just out of campus, is great, is looking for the ability to build something from scratch, but all you're giving him is a maintenance role, he or she will not stick around. He's just waiting to, he or she's biding time to go to her next gig. So is there an alignment of goals of what they want and what they don't want? So incorporating this in your interview and selection process is critical. There are tools to do that today. Through your assignments, through your selection process, through psychometric tests, you can do check for these things. And the last thing is to say that there's a value goal exercise, value alignment exercise that we do. So typically when someone comes on board, and these are free tools available online, where you do a beliefs, values assessment. The good part was out of the 30 people that we had, about 25 shared 3 core values. Like in the ordering was maybe different, but 1, 2, and 3, 3, 2, 1, 2, 1, 3, and so on and so forth was same for about 25 people. So they were doing something right in hiring. And it's important to be able to know that, put situational questions, right? And these are questions we've all seen in different forms in tests, or even when you write SOPs for before you go into B school, that give a situation. What would you do in this? I'm sure you've heard, right? You're seeing 5 people on a track. You're seeing a baby on another track. You're seeing something else. Who will you rescue first? Those sort of questions help you understand how the individual is thinking, what are their values, and it will build in for some form of loyalty, if not very long-term loyalty. I hope that answers your question. And thanks.
Thank you.
We will just take one last question. Do anybody have any last question?
So my question is about, it has actually stemmed from a conversation I had with Sakshi back in 2019 in Bangalore, if you remember. This was about, I was in the process of not opting for a conventional MBA, and I wanted to start out. And in the process, I discussed this with a couple of friends, and Sakshi was one of them. And she actually gave me an insight that in the process of doing what you want to do, there'll be 5 other things that you might not want to do, but will have to end up doing. Because not everything when you're starting out is as hunky-dory. There are many challenges that come in the way of doing what you really want to do. So I want to listen from all the panelists certain instances or challenges that you faced while starting out, which you would have not anticipated or not wanted in the first place. So that is my question.
Who would like to go first?
Yes, so for me it was sales. I'm never a sales guy. I don't talk with anybody. If I go in the canteen, I sit alone. So that was a big challenge for me, how to talk, how to tell that I have something. I always used to listen to people, learn from whatever they are doing, but I did not tell them about what I do. So how will they come to know about it, right? So kind of I then listened to different. YouTube is the best source. So if you want to change, first go to YouTube. You'll get some tricks of the game. You will again, as I told you to him, you apply it to real life process, real life projects. What is it that I want to do, and then related to that, what is the thing that I want to acquire? What is the skill that I want to acquire? What is the trick that is there in the market? And then accordingly, I go to that particular thing. So sales is definitely one of them. Which I'm yet handling. I'm not an expert at it, but I could handle one challenge which was technical, the product development. So somehow I really clicked to me developing a product, because in my case B2B SaaS, the product itself is really critical. You talked about product-led growth and all that, right? So product is very critical in my business. So if I don't know the product, if I outsource it to someone, it is very difficult for me to understand the potential of that product. So I decided to develop it on my own, and it took a lot of energy out of me. But luckily I enjoyed it. Right? I use the same technique, YouTube and all, but I enjoyed this process. I'm not enjoying the another process that much. So if I don't enjoy it again for next few days or months, maybe I will shake hand with someone and let him do that job, because I can't do it. Let it be done by someone else who is expert at it.
Thank you, sir. And Shireen ma'am, would you like to add something to it?
Yeah, sure. Mine was the opposite actually from Chanakya. It was basically, I had done sales and marketing for like 12 years. So for me, that was cakewalk. But tech, and so we were building an app with two non-techies. Okay, both of us are commerce grads with 10 plus years in sales. So we had to learn the ropes. We never hired a product manager till I think about a year ago. So for the first few years, I was understanding UI UX to the point I finally reached where when we were developing a version for the geophones, I did the wireframes. Okay, and I felt like, what am I doing in life? Because I've never done this. But I think when you know that you're the only one who has to do it, you'll figure out a way. Like he said, right? You will figure a way out because you can't afford the best expensive, best resource in tech. So खुद ही करना पड़ता है, and you eventually learn and grow. So yeah, that was, but it's fun now. Today I'm very happy with actually working on automation for us for analytics and all of that. But it learned it. So that was my biggest challenge.
Thank you, ma'am. And finally, Sakshi, would you share something?
Sure. One thing that I realized very quickly while working on the venture is that because how human-centric it was, it would be really difficult to scale it up. So what I've been working on for the past some time is to integrate technology in it. And of course, because it's so new, I'm still on a journey to make sure that the integration is in a way that I would like it to be, and that would enable the kind of expansion that we envision for our product in have. But yes, we're still working for it.
So one thing I must tell you is this is like game of a chess. No two games are similar. The journey that Sakshi has, journey that I have, journey that other two panelists have, is everybody has a different journey, and you also will have a different journey. There are no two ways about it. It is like maybe we can 2-3 points, maybe 5 lessons, 4 lessons. If they are helpful to you, you just take it. But your journey definitely is going to be a different journey, and I hope it is a better journey.
With this, I would like to thank to all our panelists for taking out time and sharing their valuable insights. I'm sure it has enriched all of us in ways